So you're not gonna believe that. Actually, you probably will if you've been paying attention to anything happening online. I can't believe how funny this is, and by funny I mean terrible. This is incredibly bad for the industry. So Unity is a free asterisk game creation software. It's like the most popular one. I mean, you've got like Game Maker Studio and Godot and stuff, but like Unity's the big one. Unity has announced a change to its business model, which includes new additions to our subscription plans. All right? Now, cutting through all the bullshit, what have they actually changed? All right? So, buried in these changes, the main thing that they're changing, all right, is they are making it so they take a fee from game developers for every copy of their released game that's installed over a certain threshold. So, I want you to parse the language of this, okay? If a person buys a game, installs it, then returns it, and then buys it again, and then installs it, and then returns it, and then buys it again, then installs it, and so on and so on, that counts. Every single one of those is another fee. Apparently, a bunch of people installing the game off a Game Pass, which developers can sign up for so their games are available as part of like a package deal, that gets taken against them for the fee. Like, we're talking about, like, this is insane, okay? The equivalent of this would be like, imagine if a chocolate manufacturer sold their chocolate bars to a bunch of stores, and the deal was that the manufacturer receives a fee from the publisher, or sorry, from the distributor, every time somebody picks up the chocolate bar. It doesn't count with Game Pass. Have they walked it back? Because initially, like, have they walked it back? Because initially there was a lot of stuff that they were owning up to in the they walked it back in the past 18 hours or whatever since I last. Okay, then let's take a look. All right, because this isn't changing anything that I'm saying. All right, hold on. They've walked it back with Game Pass. Okay, I want you. Okay, just right off the bat, I want you to imagine a deal in which the chocolate manufacturer says, "Hey, store, you pay us a fee every time somebody picks up the chocolate bar in the store. Not buys it, but picks it up. If they set it down again, then pick it up again, then set it down again, then pick it up again, then set it down again, then pick it up again." That would be like more charges run to them. You know? How, like, what level of business acumen? They walked Game Pass but are saying Microsoft is supposed to pay? Then Microsoft isn't going to let Unity games on their fucking store. There's no way Microsoft is going to pay that. Are you joking? Are you telling me they walked this back? Where? Show me where they walked it back. So this person asks, so we can just hate install somebody's game until they run out of money? Cool. And then Unity responds, we do already have fraud detection practices in our ads technology, which is solving a similar problem, so we'll leverage that know-how as a starting point. We recognize users have concerns and will make available a process for them to submit their concerns to our fraud compliance team. This doesn't sound like them walking it back. This sounds like somebody saying, hey, dog, we can hate install their game, right? And Unity's like, don't worry, if you hate install their game, then we will have a customer service team they can appeal to. That does not seem like walking it back. I got some clarifications from Unity regarding their plans to charge developers per game install. If a player deletes a game and reinstalls it, that's 2 installs, 2 charges. Same if they install on 2 devices. Charity games / bundles exempted from fees. Oh, okay. So don't worry, guys. Charity bundles don't count towards the install. But yep, if they delete and reinstall it, guys, you realize that on Steam you can literally delete a game file and then reinstall it an infinite number of times, right? You can just right-click install, right-click uninstall, right-click uninstall, right-click uninstall, right-click on... Just like money factory for Unity. Just pulling it in. Cult of the Lamb is pulling their game because of this. Buy Cult of the Lamb now because we're deleting January 1st. Based. So I don't know who in chat was saying they walk this back. I don't know why I listen to you guys like ever. The person who runs Unity, the CEO of Unity, is the former CEO of EA Games, okay? That's who we're dealing with right here, all right? That's the titan of industry that we're currently contending with. Yeah, this was the same guy who thought that you should pay real money for bullets in an FPS game every time you reload. In response to this, there have been a bunch of developers and publishers that have been freaking out. Hold on, is this true? Devolver Digital is now saying you better specify engine in your game pitch? Hold on. That's crazy. Devolver Digital is like the mega indie game publisher. Like they've published all of you have played a game published by Devolver Digital. It's not possible to have not. That's just part of the deal. Let me see where can they tweet so often. Can I see where they say that? Where they say that they're going to be oh yeah, here it is. Definitely include what engine you're using in game pitches. It's important information. Oh man. This is another great okay, guys, it's so good because like literally just a few days ago we were having a conversation on stream about how bad it is for industry and industry efficiency to have decisions made by CEOs and shareholders, you know? Like the CEO, first of all, making like appointing the guy who ran EA as the Unity CEO right off the bat tells you how much shareholders give a shit about the people who actually use Unity. And they're so out of touch and they're so hateable. They have no idea. Does this apply to free games using Unity? As I understand it, past a certain number of downloads, you pay the fee when people download. Like even if you release the game for free, the money goes to them. Like there's a fee for it. Oh, revenue is also required. Revenue over 200K. That's not a lot. 200K in revenue is not. Most like most games that have any real backing are going to hit that. Yeah, that's like nothing. That's not even like minimum wage for 3 or 4 developers, assuming they've been working on it for a decent length of time. This morning, Unity is promoting new AI features. Oh my god, dude. It's great. It's so good. Hold on, Pigeon screaming. It's so good. Pigeon, I have a job. But Vaush, isn't this just going to kill Unity? Who in the right mind would continue developing on it? People who are unaware, I suppose. Like, Unity isn't the only dog in the game, you know? It's Godot or Godot. I don't know how it's pronounced. There are other ways to, like, make games for free, basically. It's insane, you know? But this is again, this is a flawless example. It's Godot. Okay, Godot. This is a flawless example of Genshin Impact runs on Unity. Is that true? This is a flawless example of like, okay, I sound like a lefty saying this. It's a flawless example of capitalism, okay? Because these kinds of decisions can only be made by people who are completely disconnected from the industry and only connected to shareholder profits. Seriously, like that's what EA did. Like, I don't think a lot of people understand how many bad, horrible, like sociopathic decisions flow down from the top and how the developers, the people who actually make the game, push back against them. Like, I imagine that working on a large game project, like anything at EA, is like a 24/7 process of like somebody from corporate wandering in and going, what if we allowed players to change their names, but it's $8. $8 in credit card. You just put your credit card in, just $8, and change your hat. Just checking out a hat, $8. And then the developer has to be like, that's great, please, just please, and just nonstop, you know, because the only thing the CEO gives a shit about is corporate profits, and oftentimes they know very little. How often do you guys see CEOs like hop between industries? You notice this, right? Why was the CEO of EA Games, the publisher, moved over? Why they become CEO of Unity? Unity isn't a publisher. Unity is a company that runs a free game-making software that makes money off of the cuts they get from people who sell their games. What is the transferability of that knowledge, apart from it being in the same general industry? Well, there's not. The only thing you have to do to be CEO is be a corporate bootlicker. That is it. Your job as CEO is to be the avatar of shareholder profits. Other people are the ones who need to know how the industry actually works. You're a CEO. Your job isn't to know how the business is run. That's all the hundreds of people beneath you. That's their job. They know better than you ever will. Your job is to just be a demon who communicates between the actual workers and the shareholders. You're the intermediary. You have to inshitify things as much as possible to maximize profits as much as possible. And you have all the power, but ultimately, right, you know nothing. And this happens all the time. Again, there are some cases of of CEOs who actually know something or other, but clearly this is not one of them, you know? I feel really bad because, like, I am a huge fan of the studio Aggro Crab. Aggro Crab made Going Under, which is like a floor-by-floor randomized roguelite beat-em-up where you pick up, like, office furniture to beat up a bunch of, like, failed Silicon Tech Valley startup monsters. And they're making a new game, which is essentially Dark Souls, but with crabs. And I saw them. I saw them at PAX West just, like, 4 days ago. And but their shit's made on Unity. So, like, what the hell? Yeah, Going Under does slam. Great soundtrack too. Did you read the CEO traded 2K shares before this? Wouldn't surprise me. They do that shit all the time, yeah. One thing they actually have rolled back is they will only count first install. They have mechanisms to detect that. Oh yeah, one other excellent indicator of Unity's reliability on this is that they have said that they have proprietary detection software on their own side, and because it's proprietary, they're not going to share the information. But don't worry, guys, they have a way of making sure that everything's above board and no fraud is committed with repeat installs. That's great, dude. I trust you. I trust you completely. I trust you with my life, even. Even if they had, it's just a clear conflict of interest. You think? Absolutely psychotic. And it's really disappointing, because a lot of people have very very high opinions of Unity, I think, historically, because Unity historically has been a phenomenal platform for game development. But this is what happens, man. And again, like, this is one of those things when a lot of people say this is bad, it's because of capitalism. What they really mean is that it's bad because of market economy, right? In this case, this is specifically capitalism. I do not believe that decisions like this could ever be made by people who are familiar with and directly connected to the industry that they work in. This has to be some, like, demonic top-down thing. This has to be somebody looming in from above. And they'll end up walking back a lot of this, but it doesn't mean you should ever trust them again. It doesn't mean you should ever, like, any company capable of doing this can never be trusted for, like, anything as serious as a long-term game development project. It just can't be done. This is just a bad business decision? Yes, it's one of the clear examples of a failure in capitalism, because not only is it psychotic and inhumane, it's also bad for the company. It's like it's a perfect example from every end, because you can point to plenty of examples, right, where corporations will do inhumane things, but it'll be profitable to the company. So it's like, okay, well, in a market sense, the system incentivizes this. In this case, it's just a bad decision all around. So we'll see, I suppose. This is one step closer to reality now. Oh my, dude, literally. Pirate game, company loses $60. Delete game, company receives back $60. Pirate game 1 million times, company loses 60 million and declares bankruptcy. Buy company for a few dollars and become CEO. Delete all the pirated copies. 60 million deposited into my account. Suddenly CEO of my own game company with millions to make my dream game. We are not far from establishing the market conditions to make this possible. We are getting closer to this timeline. They expect Microsoft to pay for the Game Pass stuff. Yeah, which is even worse of a decision, I feel, because now Microsoft just isn't going to let Unity games on their... Microsoft isn't going to be like, oh, yeah, dude, we'll just pay you $1 million. Yeah, whatever. Like, yeah, no shot. Absolutely no shot. Minimum lifetime install count. Anything from 1 cent to 20 cents per install. 20 cents per install? What determines the variability here? It's just insane. Literally just insane. Disco Elysium was Unity. A ton of games are Unity. Like, a huge number of them. It's all over the place. The licensing tier you have, so how much money you give them annually? Unity pricing plan. I see. So cool. Vaush, this isn't a failure of capitalism. Companies being punished for making bad decisions is how capitalism works. No, you can't say that, dude. Like, well, capitalism is a battleground of corporate ideas. So actually, a company breaking its back, bending over to suck its own dick, then shitting itself and dying is actually like an exception. Like, capitalism is succeeding here. No. The fact that decisions like this are being made altogether is a direct product of corporate control, of bourgeois control. over the business. If workers, if people who actually made the system, people who actually tweak Unity, fiddle around with it, make the decisions, if they were in charge, this decision would not have been made. The silver lining here is most gacha games are run on Unity. Well, okay, if we can take down the gacha games and we can take down Genshin Impact specifically, I feel like maybe this works out positively. Do markets not function by rewarding good company decisions and punishing bad ones? This is like arguing that feudalism is a good system whenever a lord like conquers 500 square miles of territory, then dies of diarrhea, and civil war happens. Because it's like, well, feudalism rewards the strongest lords with the strongest armies. Like that's not how you can't justify, like, you're saying that gladiatorial combat is bad, but look, the system down there works. The strongest lives. Like that's not. You're defining good by a different set of terms. Like, bad companies hurt themselves failing is not my definition of success when the failure hurts an entire industry. They're dragging the industry down with them. The failure shouldn't have happened at all. Like, this is one of those, like, Silicon Valley, like, move fast and break things, 40 IQ ideologies, where the whole point of a company is to be like a short-term investment cycle that may or may not disrupt a market before imploding. And some people get extraordinarily rich, and a bunch of people lose out in a lot. And it's like, oh man, that's working. See, like the system's working. It's like, well, no. What I want is like a functioning games industry, not a games industry where there are like 4 or 5 key players who can f everything up because they decided their shareholders weren't getting enough money. Yeah, it's like saying 2008 was capitalism working because the banks failed. If there wasn't a bailout and all these corporations failed, it's like, oh man, dude, see, capitalism's working great. All these companies that made the subprime mortgage gambling loan or whatever, they went down. You know, see, we're rewarding good behavior and punishing bad behavior. What should the shareholders do in this system? Not exist? Seppuku? What do you mean? They're shareholders. I hate shareholders. I hate the system. I mean, in this system, like shareholders gonna shareholder, you know. It's why the system has to be tweaked slightly, you know, just slightly. The difference is fault versus failure. Failure implies it's not working as intended. If working as intended includes systems where markets are imploded and like entire industries are disrupted based on the idiotic decision making which is procured by like the bourgeois system of investment, then like working as intended in your case produced bad outcomes. Like you might as well be saying like, yes, well, you know, our death panels that decide who lives and dies successfully decide who lives and dies. So the system is working as intended, you know? Like it's meaningless. This is like how structural functionalists think, you know? They're like, well, actually, if you think about it, the death camps were a policy success because the point of them was in fact to clear Germany of the parasites. So they did that. So actually, they're a success by the metrics set forward by the people who designed these systems. They were actually a success. So you can't actually argue. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we're literally arguing that bad things are good because the bad things are part of a bad system, and therefore because the system said the bad thing would happen. That is like it's meaningless. Meaningless. They're counting games loaded in browser. What? Will this affect WebGL and streamed games? Games on all platforms are eligible for the fee, but only incur costs above the install and revenue thresholds across. Installs, which involve initialization of the runtime on a client device. What? Wait, can you just refresh a page over and over? Yeah, rip itch.io. They now say only the initial installation of the game triggers a fee, but in their FAQ, they admit they don't have the data to distinguish reinstalls or WebGL streams, etc., so they just charge for everything. Do they admit they don't have that data? It's so good. The system is working so well. A supposed Unity dev tried to clarify things over here. Do we know it's actually a Unity dev? No, we don't. This is an anonymous account with one post that joined today. We have no way of knowing whether this is real. They say they're working off aggregate data. Well, then it's not very proprietary, is it? CEO sold a bunch of stocks before the announcement, I heard. How many is a bunch? 2,000 Unity shares. That's not that many. Oh, hold on. Guru Focus noticed that this follows a trend, reporting that Risitiello has sold a total of 50,610 shares this year and purchased none. Oh, man, dude. Now that's what I call a market success. When your CEO has spent the entire year selling shares of your stock and not purchased any. Oh, my God. Risitiello isn't the only executive at Unity to sell a bunch of stock the week before the company's runtime fee announcement. According to Unity's market activity in the NASDAQ, several other Unity board members sold significant numbers of shares leading up to planned pricing. Oh my, dude, it's literally a rug pull. How is this not insider trading? Well, you'd have to prove that they were operating, that it wasn't just a big coincidence. Wink. Chief among them being Tamer Barziv, Unity's president of growth, who sold 37,500 shares on September 1st for roughly $1.4 million, and board director Shlomo Dovrat, who sold 68,454 shares on August 30th for around $2.5 million. Dude, I love the system working. I love all of the executives being like, "All right, guys, everyone, we're about to announce the stupidest change of our lives, and it's gonna suck, all right? So everyone make sure to make a bunch of money beforehand." Last time Risatiello's name was in the news in a prominent way was when he said mobile game developers who don't utilize Unity's suite of ad technology are, quote, idiots. That's what again, this is the guy who's so business savvy that he had to be the guy to run both EA and Unity, okay? This is like this guy's got like 500 IQ. And what's the last time he was in the news cycle? He thinks mobile game developers aren't cramming their games full of enough ads. Fucking idiots. I love the system. Capitalism's strongest soldier. Yeah, literally. Dude, this is definitely the guy who should have been Unity CEO and EA CEO. A person who literally, clearly does not give a single shit about video games and only cares about monetization. Oh, you're making a mobile game and you're not trying to milk every dollar that you can out of the people. You don't have 16 different kinds of currency, and you also don't run ads that can only be gotten rid of if you pay a $5 a month subscription. Well, you're a idiot. You wanted to make art? Oh, you wanted to make like art for people to be happy? You wanted to make people happier? You're a loser. You're a fucking moron, you fucking piece of shit. How the fuck you do that to me? Him shorting the Unity stocks does seem to indicate he has some level of awareness, though. Yeah, it's probably one of those things where this idea was set forward a long time ago, and as it got closer and closer to announcement date, he got more and more info on how bad this would be, and he's just like, eh. Like, they don't give a shit. Dude, these people like this will literally ruin your entire life and not give a shit. Because it's like, oh, whatever. Like, who cares? He's worth $1 bajillion. He's always going to be worth $1 bajillion. It's all just like, well, whatever. The CEOs will just fail their way from industry to industry to industry. Just like, oh, dude, what, like, yeah, whatever. Meanwhile, leaving, like, devastation in their wake because they don't give a shit about anything that they're doing, you know? And the shareholders appoint these people because the shareholders, contrary to what a capitalist might tell you, where the shareholder is interested in appointing a CEO who will make a good product, they are interested in appointing a CEO who will milk as much money for them as possible in the short lifespans they have left because shareholders are all fucking old. It's bad for the industry. Do you think this is them literally sweeping the leg on their own company so they can walk away with a golden parachute? And stuff like that happens too. Sometimes deliberately bad decisions are made specifically so they can claim a bunch of losses and like a CEO and a few other people can walk away with a fuck ton of money. Like, it's insane. System working as intended. Unity announced yesterday, amid layoffs by the way, that it will merge with ad tech firm IronSource. Risatiello, a veteran of the industry who previously served as EA's chief executive, added how he sees a growing divide between game developers who, quote, massively embrace how to figure out what makes a successful product, and others who, as in other art forms, maintain distance from the money side of things for creativity's sake. As such, he argues that devs first and foremost need to cater to the market. Literally, like, I've been noticing this larger and larger divide between people who just want to make money and people who want to make art. And I gotta say, you need to make money. People inside Unity have been pushing back against this decision for months. Okay, so then I was right. Yeah, the CEO and some other people probably pushed for this a long time ago, and they built up like the infrastructure to make the announcement. And meanwhile, everyone internally is talking about how like it's going to be bad. Like this is going to suck. Nobody's going to go through with this. So they're like as they get closer and closer to release date, they're like, well, here's our last chance to sell shares, right? And if the announcement goes well, we can just like get it back, like whatever, it's not a big deal. But if it goes really poorly, you want to sell those shares now. How's Unity's stock doing? Now that's what I like to call a decision. It's actually not that big of a shift downward. See, they've had a larger shift downward over this period of time. I don't really know what's going on with Unity's stock. No consequences for them working as intended. Well, yeah, he's probably worth like $50 trillion. With IronSource merger already netting $1 billion in investments from Unity's shareholders, and IronSource itself valued a whopping $4.4 billion, it only makes sense Risatiello is willing to throw developers under the bus. Advertisements and the technology behind them, as always, are the name of the game. Great. Love that. Risatiello net worth. At least $176 million as of Guru Focus. So Take that for what you will. I don't know. Every website will have a different estimate. Forbes, as of 2 years ago, estimated $1.4 billion. For indie developers, yes, bro coffee. Anyway, have we all, Rishitielo? I don't respect him enough to pronounce his name correctly. What are the odds they undo this? They probably will undo this, you know? Again, it's a decision that could have only been made from people who have a contemptuous disinterest in the industry. Yes, and it's aggressively Italian name. As a game dev, what should I do? I don't use Unity because Unreal superiority, but still, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you making this about you? What should I do? By the way, I don't use Unity. Nothing. You don't have to do anything. You use Unreal. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Vaush, is RPG Maker any good? I mean, if you want to make a very specific kind of game, sure. It's not a very diverse, wide-ranging platform for game construction.